didn't see the point for the pain. You can have pain so bad that you lose your appetite. You can have pain so bad that you stop eating and you stop talking and you stop believing and you stop smiling and you don't have your personality because your pain is stopping you from being who you are.
The story of my son actually began a couple of years before he was murdered. I began to see some things in my son change, shift, and of course you're gonna run from that. I was pregnant with my daughter, and my son was probably like a year and a half when my great aunt lost her 17-year-old and only son. And at that funeral I spoke, and within it, it was just like I was outside looking at myself, and I said, I never want to be her. And throughout the years of my son's life, because he was 17, my son was 18, throughout the years of his life growing up, I just kept saying, I would never want to be her, and I wound up becoming her.
Wow. So, all right. Would you like to speak? Just tell me the story about your son, please.
So, some people know me as Greg and 333 Mom on Instagram. Gregory was killed Christmas Eve, December 24, 2019. That day, I knew something was off, and as most kids who I have interacted with, I would say that your love and your protection is in your parent. That morning, Gregory was above me sleeping, and something fell and hit the ground. And if you know about cartoons, anything can happen. They can put a atomic bomb in them and blow up and come back to each other, you know. But if you can understand when I say when something hit the ground above me, I was asleep, and it's like something came out of me, like my soul, and came back in. I was about to run upstairs and say, what's that noise? But God said, be at peace that day. I laid there and I waited for my son to come down, because once Gregory hit the feet, once Gregory's feet hit the ground, it was go, go, go. Gregory was not a lazy bone in his body. I believe if my son was still here, he would be a rich man, because he had that focus and that drive. Part of the reason why he's no longer here anymore. My son comes downstairs, and within my spirit, God said, be at peace that day, and I'm glad that I listened. He asked me, Mama, can you take me back to my grandparents' house? I had went through endometriosis and hysterectomy, so at this time, Gregory is living with his grandparents because I'm coming from out of illness. So it's just me and my daughter. I said, Gregory, what was that noise? He said, Mama, the blessed sign fell. And in my spirit, that shook me. The blessed sign fell. It fell, and it hit the floor. I said, that's fine, Gregory. Gregory, that night, to pause, the night before, I wound up sending my son a very long text message. And if my daughter could attest to how I am with my children, I'm going to be in their face. I'm going to speak verbally to them over the phone. I am not a texter. And when 12 a.m. crossed over from December 23rd to 25th, it's like something took over my hands, and it was like my son's last warning. My son, I feel, was going through a lot of what many young teenagers, but especially young black male, goes through, is the power of influence, the power of trying to find their identity. And unfortunately, in our culture, we have the most demise and disrespectful and angry culture right now in the world. So I began to see my son kind of shift, and he began to hang around with things and people dealing with a lot of hurt, disappointment. So that particular night, his curfew was 12 o'clock. I texted my son this long message, and it's like literally something came over my hands. And the next day, I kept that same spirit. It was this feeling of letting him know something was wrong. But I had already told my son that something was wrong. Gregory began to go down a path of, hold on, I gotta, all right. Perfect. And then I get high flashes too. And I don't mind being on camera when I say I get high flashes. You good. Do you think that's too loud?
Nah.
All right, let me cool up right quick.
You good.
All right. Yeah, you could keep recording. I just wanted to be like, am I making sense?
No, no.
Right. Okay. So my son began to go into a shift during his teenage years, and I began to see something that was not right. So going back to the day before and the day of, there was a feeling within inside of me. And if the inside of my spirit was like a ball, and as the hours tick, it was a bat, every second it was getting closer to that ball hitting that bat hitting that ball. So my son, I gave a long warning to. The day of, God had me at peace. I woke up, he said, Mama, the blessed sign fell. And as the day continued on, all I wanted my son to do was stay near me. Gregory was working on the riverfront. He had dropped out of school. Maybe we'll get into that, maybe not. But I told my son, and he was honest, he said, Mom, I have no more motivation for school. And I looked at him and I said, if you choose to drop out and go get your GED, I will never put that in your face as long as you finish your GED. Gregory started and stopped. He said that the teacher or whatever just wasn't working with him, whatever. And at this point now, I made a decision, and for any mother, never let your son, never let your daughter see you give up hope in them, because the world already has that in them. So at this point of me and Gregory's relationship, I just wanted to support, just whatever I can do to let my son look at me and know that I'm here and I support him. So Gregory just kind of began drifting. He wanted to make money. That was his biggest thing. And a man told me about my son, he tried to be a man too soon. Me and his father did divorce, and I was a single mother. And he began to fill his space and things up with things that were not good. So going back to that day, Gregory woke up, blessed sign fell. He asked me to take him to his grandparents' house. I said, no problem. He said to me, and it shook me, this shook me here. I love my son, I hugged my son, but that day, before he left out of that door, he said, Mama, I love you, and I love you with all my heart. And I kind of just tapped him. I'm like, okay, because I wasn't understanding the tone. The vibe of my son was just different. If I could be honest, it was like he was already gone with me at that moment, not knowing that he was going to be murdered hours later. I looked at my son as I was driving him to my grandparents, to his grandparents, my parents' house. And I literally put my hand in front of him and I began to pray over my son's chest. He's next to me and just kind of down, he just somewhere else, not his normal jippery, happy self. And then I took my hand and I prayed over his back. And I wasn't understanding why. I pray over my kids, pray for my kids, but I wasn't understanding why. And keep that in your mind for what I'll tell you later of what happened to him that day. Weeks before my son was murdered, I kept feeling a sensation over his chest. Like many people do, like many teenagers do, he had begun to smoke weed. I was so concerned, and the sensations were so strong about go get his lungs checked because he's smoking. And at one time he was a very big, athlete and stuff like that. I'm like, you need to go get your lungs checked. You need to stop smoking. But it was so strong to the fact that I went to the doctor. He began to say, oh, my back hurt. If he would have lived, I had set his chiropractor appointment for that Monday. Gregory left, took a shower. He went, did some work, and then I said, well, hey, you going, on the riverfront? He said, no, Mom, I'm not going. That bat got closer to that ball. No fussing, God said that day, and I'm happy I listened. The last call that I got on Christmas Eve was at 4:30, and he said that he was going somewhere. Can you cash out me $40? And in my mind, like, you want to be Mr. Money Man? You have your own $40. But I said, no arguing today, and I sent him the $40 on cash out. I was taking too long to send it, and he called me right before I did it. And I honestly said to myself and wanted to scream through that phone. I said, whoever he was around, I felt like he was around demons, and I just be very blunt. I wanted to scream through that phone. I wanted to say, son, you were around demons. Like I could feel, like as a mother, I felt when my children wasn't around me, like what was going on around them. God said, stay at peace. I went to go pick up one of my friend's children, brought him home, and then me and my daughter went to Baton Rouge. While I'm driving, you all, it was like I was in another space. It was just like something wasn't right. I get to the Mall of Louisiana, my daughter's, shopping for a Christmas outfit, and I wanted to tell her, I said, girl, people around here worrying about gifts and all that. I said, it could be people's last day here on earth. But I kept that thought to myself. After going here, there in the stores, we tried to go find some other place, couldn't find it in Baton Rouge. And my spirit at this time is like going in a circle. And it's like, get back to New Orleans, get back to New Orleans. Maybe it's around 6-ish. Get back to New Orleans, 7 o'clock. So I'm flying at this point. I don't know why I'm not in a real rush, but it's like I gotta get back to New Orleans. Something's pulling on New Orleans, pulling to me to get to New Orleans. I passed up La Place. Something dropped in my spirit. La Place. I get to the family's Christmas Eve party. Everything is wrapping up. And my cousin Angel, She's one of them, you know, boop bops and all of that. She changes it to gospel music. And I'm looking, kind of that same little lean I did with Gregory. Angel, listen to it, Angel. Angel put on gospel music. And I'm like, okay, so we just having fun, acting crazy, imitating, being a gospel singer, whatever. And I literally stop and something leaves out of me. At this time, it's like 8-ish. Something leaves out of me and I stop. I put my hand on my hip and I say out loud, Gregory is in here. Duh, yeah. Looking around the room, he's not there. In my spirit, something left out of me. I called my son about 9 something, he didn't answer. I said, it's fine, his curfew is 12. My dad, he feels something. He calls his phone 10:30. He doesn't answer. That bed is getting closer to that bone. I go home. I went up to the stairs where my daughter was and yelled upstairs and said, Harmony, call them demons and see where Gregory is. This is not to be in a negative way. That was my feelings. We all are physical people who have spirits in us, good or evil. And at that time, I didn't feel like he was around anybody who cared or loved him. She called someone and they said, oh, he was with so-and-so and he haven't heard from him since. Call my son's phone. Hello. It's going through, but he's not responding. I doze off. 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call and it sounds like a white police voice, a white female police voice. And you dip down, but then you come back up. And so it's like this discombobulated feeling. And I couldn't understand, like, it was like a dream. I'm like, well, I said, ma'am, let me call you back because I can't understand you right now. Maybe it's me, like, just give me a minute. I go to the bathroom, try to put some water on my face to wake up. And I can feel like I felt like he's not hearing him. Like something is wrong. I can't touch my son. Call a lady back. She just had to be really stern. She said, ma'am, we need to come to you about your son. So I'm thinking Gregory just got into, went to jail. I don't know. I look out the peephole and I see this white lady with about 4 or 5 NOPD officers, and she comes in. And you all, I can literally say that I had already knew when I looked at this lady's eyes what she was going to tell me. And she said, ma'am, your son, Gregory Alexander, was involved in an incident and he was killed. Even to this day, I don't know why I didn't, like you'll see in movies, drop on the floor, scream, holler. But literally, you all, like what people tell me, even the young man who's interviewing me right now, he said, I see so much strength in you. It was like my soul was so planted. Even in that moment, I felt peace about my son's soul. Like I felt peace about him. I told him, I said, I kind of already knew. And it's being real. I saw my son's death. I saw the exact way I laid my son out, all white in a brown casket, was a vision that I had flashed through me before about him. And I began to tell my son, I need you to fight for your life. I need you to watch your company. I'm telling him about things that I'm seeing in the spirit, the person you with, and I'm talking, I'm letting him know. So it's almost like knowing something that you already knew, but now it's real. I told him, I said, do you think I need to go tell my daughter? It was like, no, keep her asleep. So they leave out, they give me a hug. Here, we'll be in contact with you, whatever. And I just stand there and I go to the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I relate things to movies just because I'm a visual person, but it was like how a movie will go into the neurons, like the brain. It's like, I'm standing there and it's like, it's done now. Like it's real. I felt something all day and now it's here. And it's like, that zip that I told you all I felt with the bless sign, like something came out and went back in. I went through that same thing in the bathroom where it's like something zapped in me, like something. I went out of myself and I came back, like it was something happened. Like he's gone. Like it was just a feeling of a part of my soul, part of what was in me left. Like it's not here anymore. I can't feel it. I thought it was Christmas Day now. This is Christmas Day. This is jingle bells and I'm literally thinking about other people, like Christmas tree, gifts, and my gift has left. My son, the gift of life has been killed.